right, so let's use a Google Jam and demonstrate something. One of the possibilities that struck me if I was still teaching this, and I don't know if anybody's still doing this, but adapt it to your subject area as possible. It's really hard sometimes to see a process, and it's hard for a student to see the end and not know how all the pieces fit together to make it get to that end. And sometimes they really don't understand and they struggle with that. One of those topics for me as a previous English teacher was sentence diagramming. I love sentence diagramming. It made so much sense to me, and I tried every year I could fit it in to teach it to students, because if you know where these parts go, you write better sentences and you understand why things didn't agree and how it didn't work, and your writing gets more complicated. So, very simple possibility here. I'm going to draw the initial line, and I could do this in a Google Meet. I could do it in Classroom. I could share it with them and they could watch me do it. Anything. And then I'm going to draw this other line. Now notice it's not perfect, and I am a left-handed person using a right-handed mouse, so it's not going to be perfect. That's okay. And then I'm going to start diagramming my sentence. I've got the cow jumped over the moon, for example. So I could ask my students in a Google Meet doing this distance learning style and say, okay, here's a sentence. What's the subject? Hopefully somebody in the class says cow. Okay, where does that go? And they say in this first spot right here. I could even share it with them and say, okay, Susie, you write this in here. What's the verb? Somebody else, I hope, says or writes in jumped. And they go in and do it. And we could color code it if we were into that. We could do all kinds of stuff. Then we get to start putting the rest of that sentence together. And I say, okay, what's the? Well, it's an adjective. Great. Where does it go? It goes under here with cow. And again, somebody else can write that in. Okay, now what are we going to do with over the moon? Well, what is that first off? Is that a direct object? Did it go up here? Is that? Like, what is that? Hopefully, or as you go through and study things and pace it appropriately, somebody recognizes that's a prepositional phrase. It's okay. What's it modifying? Well, it's modifying jumped. So we're going to put this here. Here's where the preposition goes. Hey, Joe, go write this in. What's the object of that preposition? Where does it go? Here's the line for that. What's the adjective? Here's this. And you fill that in and very simply demonstrate the rest of what it is those students are going to do. And you can give them each their own slide and they can diagram, or they can show you the one they're struggling with and show you that process. And you can see where the process breaks down. In this example, maybe they were good with the subject and the verb, but they don't know what to do with the adjectives, or they don't know the word for adjective, and you can address that right away in real time as it's happening. Not tomorrow when you grade their homework and discover that everybody missed that part of the lesson and they don't know where those things are. And best of all, you've got this to come back to and review if you need to, or to use it as a jumping off point the next day that says, hey, remember we did this? We got this. Now we're going to do a compound subject. Now we're going to work with the next piece of complication here and step up what it is we know how to do. But a Jamboard like this, especially in an online environment like we're looking at, could let our students see the process. That doesn't just work in English, but that's where I wanted to start because that was what struck me first. A lot of times, if you show them the final sentence diagram, you lose a student. It's overwhelming because there's just too much. They don't understand the process. A whiteboard could let you show that entire process. So there's one possible use case, sentence diagramming.